Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Hey Ugandans, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Dewa Kiki, the Deputy Defense Spokesperson and actually the Deputy Spokesperson for the Uganda People's Defense Forces. I was hosted on Alternative Dig Talk. I encourage all Ugandans that this is the way to go. Always watch, participate, give your views and ask questions on Alternative Dig Talk. Dig Talk, the way to go.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
It is the 10th day of 2022. The month is January. My name is Abdalla Tiff with the hotline once again. Every Monday, we are always here doing what we do best, looking at national politics as it is happening within Uganda and sometimes crossing over to the neighboring countries. Of course, there are so many things making rounds in the different newspaper and media platforms. If we go to, of course, we know what is happening in Tanzania. In Tanzania, the Speaker of Parliament, that is Job Ndugai, he had to hand in his resignation, throwing in the towel, saying, no, I cannot take on the mantle of being the Speaker for the Parliament of Tanzania. This came up after he tried to criticize the government and the president for borrowing $560,000 US. And the gentleman was like, we are over borrowing. At one time, this will be a burden for our country. Of course, he was criticized, and his political party, the Chama Cha Mapinduzi Party, they condemned him. And shortly after him tendering in his apology for trying to guide the country and trying to warn them that if you go for such borrowings from the International Monetary Fund, it will be disastrous for this country. That is Dar es Salaam. Of course, that is what is happening there. And again, in the same vein, we saw the president of that country, Sahul. She also fired some cabinet ministers. This came up after she realized that many of the members of the cabinet were focusing much on the 2025 general election for that country. So she said, no, I think you need to concentrate much on your political ambitions because you may not be able to balance serving Tanzanians and, of course, serving your political interests as you prepare for the 2025 general elections. It is the Hotline Show, just to remind you, and this is our second show in the year 2022. Away from Tanzania, of course, we all know what is happening in Kenya. Kenya is in high gear preparation for the elections. They are expected to go for their polls on the 9th day of August 2022. That is when Kenya as a country will be going for the polls to decide who will be the next president for the 5 years in that country. Of course, there were some opinion polls that were coming up. They indicated that Samuel Ruto seems to be on the lead, but anyway, those are just opinion polls. So until maybe when the final vote has been cast. And just Samuel Ruto again, he came up criticizing the system that he's also serving as the vice president, saying that he has all the information that the government is planning to rig the August elections of 2022. But he says that he has been part of the system. And by the fact that he has been part of the system, he has countermeasures to ensure that the rigging does not take place. Of course, it's because of the alliances that have been created in Kenya. That is the United Democratic Alliance that is behind the candidature of Samuel Ruto, who is the current vice president of that country, and he has chosen to stand against the will of his boss, Uhuru Kenyatta, who seems to be in support of his long-term rival, that is Raila Odinga. But our topic today, we will be looking at the events making rounds in different social media platforms in Uganda. And of course, the Kakwenza issue is still a hot one. We have seen many countries coming up to condemn his detention and, of course, being kept incommunicado. Many organizations, many international diplomats have come up. We read a document from the European Union, which was read by Eamon Gilmore, trying to condemn, saying, no, what is being done in Uganda, I think it's not right. Of course, the Uganda Law Society also came up with directives asking that, please, it is time this man should be given his freedom. And even the courts of law, the court issued an order saying this man should be released unconditionally or presented before the courts of law. And all these seem to be falling on deaf ears. This is not something new in this country. For those who have been in this country longer than actually you must have witnessed these things happening in this country. So what is happening is not new. These are some of the events that have been witnessed right from, if you go back between independence to date, such events have been happening. But when we go back to the East African integration, this is the time where you would expect these entities to come up to condemn what is taking place in Uganda. Actually, the Kakwenza issue, it is a representation of so many young people who would really wish to stand up and speak against the social evils in their society, who would wish to come and speak about all things happening in the society, which seem not to be moving and not being done in the rightful manner. Well, before we proceed, I am expecting, I have two guests, actually three guests, and one is overseas, is not in the country, he's abroad, but he will be joining us online, and that is Mr. Kiwanuka Lawrence Nsereko. Mr. Nsereko, I am going to give you an opportunity to say hi to the viewers so that they get to know who is our guest tonight. Over to you, Mr. Nsereko, please.
Hello, good evening, and for those who are watching beyond Uganda, good afternoon and good morning. My names have just been said, Nsereko. I'm a journalist and activist, and welcome. Let's have a
Well, Thank you so much, Mr. Nsereko. Then I am also expecting the legal advisor for the Justice Forum, and that is Mr. Ali Zikusooka Ahmed. He will be joining us in a few minutes. And then we're also expecting to have Honorable Gerard Karuhanga in the later, I think in the second hour of the show. He will be also joining us, and then we will be deliberating on the issues to do with the proposed constitutional amendments, and of course the Kakwenza issue and its implication, and especially to the young people yearning to see change taking shape in this country. But before we proceed, there is this short video I want to show. I want all of you to have a look, and then we'll kick off our discussion.
Passage of goods and services and people. We discuss a common, what is it called, passport. These are the only things we discuss. But we are not candid enough to discuss about the software of our integration, common standards of democracy, common values. We cannot pretend that we are integrating when we are led by dictators and our people are suffering, when people are looting our economies. So these are some of the things we must say very, very honestly to one another. You cannot on one side be saying you are whatever country you are, and you know that your president is pulling the nails of his opponents and putting them in jail and never allowing them to do anything. So we must, as members of parliament, we must be honest to one another. We must tell one another that integration must be about common values. And these are the things we never talk about. The passports will take care of themselves. The common market will take care of themselves, but we must have common standards of democracy. When some of us, Mungu akitupatia maisha ya kuenda beyond hii kuwa hii member of Senate na nini, and we are able to determine the policy of our country in the strictest sense, we will not integrate with you if you are punishing your opposition, if you are not adhering to democratic values, if you are stifling free speech, if you are stifling human rights, if you are throwing your opponents in jail, we shall not integrate with you. These are the common values. Let us not come here. Let us not come here every day and play soccer over post-election violence, play soccer over people who are over skeletons. So I'm talking because I can see a lot of the Kenyan parliamentarians are very excited about it, because in Kenya we might not be perfect, but we are a true democracy. You cannot jail the opposition. You cannot frustrate the opposition. Opposition can raise its claim. So even here, we are integrated. We are from different parties. My captain is from a different party. He's from the same coalition. Others of a different coalition. We have freedom of speech. We have freedom of movement. The media is broadcasting us live. Nobody shall arrest me after I leave here. That's the kind of integration we are looking for. For many words, asanteni sana. Tuacheni mambo ya kuja hapa kudanganyana habari ya pasipoti na huku naweka watu yako kwa jela. Sijui mambo ya common market, huku naiba uchumi wako. Sijui mambo ya nini, here you are stealing the livelihood of your future. Wewe unasema nini na huku unafanya corruption. That is what we must be talking about. So beware when we form our government here. Kama wewe you are a dictator president, we shall not pick you up from JKIA. God bless.
Well, thank you so much, the production crew, for playing that video. Well, that gentleman happens to be a leader in Kenya, and he was trying to throw his piece of advice to the fellow leaders within the East African community. It's like much as there is this integration, they are not discussing the software issues, the matters that bring these different leaders together to discuss. And the statements he made, actually they come very timely in such a period that we still have many political prisoners. We have people like Kakwenza, people who stand up to speak about what is happening in their society, what is happening within their country. They are detained. Actually, this has even forced many other people to run into exile, leaving their motherland. And I am happy that one of the guests we have on this show, Mr. I don't know the order for your name, maybe you'll help me, Mr. Kiwanuka Lawrence Nsereko, is one of those who really chose, who missed their motherland. He misses his country, and he had to adopt the lifestyles of the countries where he is currently, where he thought would be very safe away from his own home. Mr. Kiwanuka, I'm very sure you've been able to listen to the statements that have been raised by that Kenyan leader. What is your take on that?
Well, the Kenyan leader is very right. That's my take. Because we cannot keep on window dressing about issues of human rights and democracy. One of the very unfortunate matters on the African continent is that the OAU, now the AU, has turned out to be a club of dictators where autocratic leaders go meet, have champagne and caviar. This is not what we would expect. And I believe if people like Patrice Lumumba, Kwame Nkrumah were around, they would actually spit out this kind of political arrangement. So the Kenyan leader indicates, he's a member of parliament, he indicates that there is a need for us to come together. When we talk about human rights, we don't need to wait for Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, Article 19 to tell us that it is subhuman to detain people, that it is inhuman to post nails out, that it's inhuman to deny people their right to speech, to associate, to movement, and so on, even housing. Because of the conduct of some of these African leaders, some people can't even access food and the basic needs. Yet they are living in shaming opulence. Okay. You cannot sit back and just look on. There is a need for the African leaders, if they are worth anything in their name to be called leaders, to come up and act aggressively to make sure that their neighbors, their brothers, their sisters reform and conduct themselves in a manner that meets the international standards. We have several instruments, not European instruments, but African-based instruments of law and agreements within the AU, within the ECOWAS, within the East African community, within SADC, that demand that these rights are fundamental and they are inalienable. Now, let's talk about the issue of Kakwenza, if we may, in this particular case. Okay. One, Kakwenza is a very unfortunate fellow because he is being used by the regime to intimidate other people who are likely to speak out. When the regime in Uganda decides to attack, these attacks are not isolated. These attacks are planned. They are intended to create fear among the population. Because now, other people who will speak about some of these issues are now scared because they don't want to become another Kakwenza, which is very so. And what was Kakwenza's crime? I ask.
Mr. Kiwanuka,
Yes.
when you say that Kakwenza is being used by the regime, yet it is the regime itself that has chosen to persecute him, what do you mean by that?
What I mean is that the regime in Uganda, we can go back in history. We can start by 1986. Okay. What you do when people come up and criticize you, you arrest them violently, okay? So that violent arrest is seen by the other people who would likely come up and criticize you to be scared and to withdraw. So this is what is happening to Kakwenza. Kakwenza raised a clear point that an individual, or well, Muhoozi, is obese. And if you look at the body mass index of Muhoozi, who is about 5'10", and he weighs about 190 pounds, medically, he's obese. There is no question about it. I'm obese. So what's the issue? Okay, so the government, we are untouchable. You can't talk about us. So let's show you an example. Kakwenza, torture him, dismiss him, make him suffer so that you are all intimidated. This has been by design. One of the sensitive issues in Uganda is Andrew Takome Kaira. Okay. One time I asked a politician to stand up against Seven, and the politician that my son on, if they could kill Kaira who had his, how about you can see the impact of some of these things. When you think they're just arresting Kakwenza, no, they are targeting psychologically you, the journalists. And I'm concerned that the journalists in Uganda spoken out as much as you should. This is an issue about your profession. This is an issue in the process. You are going to be the victims. If you don't cry out for Kakwenza and you wait to cry out when they touch you, nobody will be listening.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kiwanuka. And I want to be crossing over to Mr. Zikusooka Ahmed. Is that the right order, sir? Yes. Well, thank you for joining us, Mr. Ahmed. On the show, we are having Mr. Kiwanuka Lawrence Nsereko. He is a Ugandan political journalist who is currently in exile, and he has lived in the US for over 15 years. Now, there are so many issues happening. I'm sure when you are coming, you are following the discussion. The issue of Kakwenza, Mr. Kiwanuka says it does not stop at him. It is a message being thrown over to the young people, to the people like Ahmed, who want to see that this country changes. What is your view? What is your take on Kakwenza's arrest?
First of all, I would like to appreciate the invite, and I would also like to appreciate that the viewers online have a mind to put back our views to the brains of Ugandans and the world at large. We very well want to tell the young generation to be vigilant. To be vigilant, to use their educational levels to an output that is out of the Ugandan in the development of this nation, learning from the history, the current, and planning for the future. Now, if we talk about a journalist being arrested, if we talk about a journalist being arrested, over what issues? Over what issues is the matter? Now, who is arresting? Who is arrested?
And over what?
Over what? What is the message and what is the consequence? So we examine the arresting authority is what? But I read that I read when the CID was saying there is no room for using vulgar language in this country. There is no room for using vulgar language in this country. And Kakwenza has used the vulgar language. it is subject to interpretation and the mind of the interpreter. Okay? Now, the exiled journalist is telling you that whatever the gentleman said medically is telling you that whatever the boy said, right. when medically you examine the statement, you are giving it actually a lot. President Museveni himself, in the speeches that he has made, I remember when he was telling people to do deal in COVID, he was telling, why should you have this much weight? Why should you have this much weight? For what? Huh? So if it is examined medically like Kiwanuka is saying, then you would find that the boy, if he came to me as a lawyer, and I had an explanation like Kiwanuka is giving, I think I would have convinced the judge to let the boy free. Huh? But because we are in a world where we need to teach people by way of violation of human rights, by, you know, annoying the person of a president is a crime, is a crime in this country. Annoying the person of a president is a crime. I don't know if annoying the son of a president by a statement medically examined to be true is also a crime in this country. Huh? Now, we don't know what we shall explain to our people. But however, vigilance entails that people should know what to say, how to say it, when to say it, and to whom to say. Because it is even religious. It is even religious that when God was sending Moses and Aaron to the mighty Pharaoh, he told them that, hey, look here, you are my messengers. It is me that is sending you, that when you are going, when you reach a point of speaking to that gentleman, make sure you use a polite language. Because he has the authority and the audacity to do whatever he can. To do whatever he can. So I would pity my brother, what is the name?
Kakwenza.
I would pity my brother Kakwenza that he said the right things
in the wrong time
to a right person in the wrong time. And that is how he has to be paid. That is how he has to be paid. And
since you are a lawyer, I think you should also help us before Mr. Kiwanuka comes in. What is the implication of such statements? Because if one says you're overweight, you know, your weight is too much, and if one says Ahmed Zikusooka, you're dark-skinned, how is that an offense? I don't know. I think I just need to understand this.
The rules of interpretation in the legal fraternity goes back to the intention, to the intent with which this word has been said. So, and those that give interpretation to people's words in a context of an abuse where you need more explanation, I think it is better that this boy is called and told to give an explanation. Give further and better particulars of what you've said.
Actually, one would even ask.
Give further and better particulars of what you have said, and you will hear, and the boy will say, I've not abused anybody. But I said what, it is a fair comment. If it is defamation, the defense the boy would have is a fair comment that I said what is right.
Well, I need to go back to Mr. Kiwanuka.
I said what is right.
I need to go to Mr. Kiwanuka. I had something burning. Mr. Kiwanuka, I want you to come in. You had something to say, which seemed to have been burning. Please, just say it out.
We needed to bring
control
to bear
room, give
here.
us some sound. Yeah.
The issue that we need to bear here is the issue of vulgar language. Okay, and how has it come to be part of our common parlance? Okay, when you have a society, one that is not allowed to exercise their voice in any other way. But the only mechanism they have is their mouth. So they will use that. Okay. People talk about Stella Nyanzi use of the body as a mechanism to express ourselves. This is what actually those of us who follow the Bible, which is talked about, that if somebody takes away your robe and they leave your tunic and they leave you with a sash, throw the sash to them too, which basically people like Wangari Maathai took to the extreme and stripped naked in Nairobi with the rights of the being abused. So whether that is vulgar, again, it goes back to what Lawyer Zikusooka has said, the intent. But fast forward, when you have someone who is supposed to be the fountain of honor in country, who talks about your mother's something, public radio, in national speeches, who talks about his private people touch the leopard's anus in public, it becomes very possible for the younger people to accept this because it's being normalized.
Actually, you
And
could
then
say for the
you will see it
Bazukulu.
all over the place. Okay, the Bazukulu are seeing this as normal. Okay, so if they talk back in the same manner, I don't like calling him Jaja because I think that's also a psychological game that people could see him and say, oh, the wonderful old man who is not problematic. No, he is our problem. He is not a Jaja to anyone. He is the dictator that has brought us down this abyss. So I think when somebody says room for vulgar language, we have to start at the top and then come down and clean the entire place. That was
So
the issue that
actually,
was
you're
running
telling
in my
police.
mind.
Just a second before Zikusooka, you come in. Mr. Kiwanuka, one would ask that, like both of you have put it, it goes back to the intent of the communication that was made by Kakwenza. What is the offense in this? And then one would also ask, what was his interest in uttering such statements? Was he trying to portray him as, and what kind of message was he trying to put up across?
Well, when I read the tweet myself, I think what I find in the tweet is not actually targeted towards Muhoozi as a person. This is a conversation between Kakwenza and the people who are pushing Muhoozi to become a president. Okay? And he says to them that you are being paid, but the person you are trying to push is not that responsible. Look at how he's handling his personal body. Okay, that's my interpretation. And he has anger issues and so on. And when he says he has anger issues and you say, I am very angry because you said I have anger issues, and then you come with a sledgehammer to kill a fly, I think you are convicting yourself that you have anger issues.
Well,
So
thank
I don't
you so
see
much.
any crime in this for Kakwenza at all.
Mr.
And
Kiwanuka,
also, yes.
you're one of the people who left their country. What happened exactly? You were a journalist who was very, very active during the times when you were here. What exactly happened? Maybe for the viewers would love to know.
Well, it was the things that I used to, okay. One of the issues that actually annoyed those in power in Uganda at that particular time was when I wrote that I was writing about South Korea. And I was saying this is a communist kingdom being brought up because I'm saying Kim is going to hand over to his son, and the grandson is also in waiting. All these have come to pass to be true. that when the father died, handed the power over to the son. Now, in that comment, the regime felt very uncomfortable that maybe I was talking about something which to do. Okay, so that became an issue, and there were several other stories. Some of them involved, one of the major story involved the plan of Uganda to invade the DRC. So this information came to my table, and I was training rebels to go and attack the DRC. And I wondered, what should I do with this information? I'm an African. I didn't want to see war break out between neighboring countries. So I published the information. And the government got very, very upset. I was detained. It wasn't the first time. I had been detained several other times. But this time, I had stepped on the toes of some people. And I managed to get bail, which was very hard to do. And once I got bail, there was an attempt to rearrest me. But by the time they checked my car, we went left the court building, had already sneaked out of the court building. So they were waiting for my car. I left by other means and hiding until I left the country. So these things are not new. Okay, the regime has done them. When we see being arrested in the courtyard compound, lawyers being attacked, this is not new. This happened in 1987. It happened because I think the first person to be arrested from the court chambers was Major Fred Kiberum Piso in 1987. He was granted bail. He was charged with treason, granted bail, and he was violently arrested in the court ambulance. So these things have been around. Okay, we just have to be strong, keep fighting, keep challenging the regime until we attain genuine democracy in Uganda.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Kiwanuka. So very sorry about that. That happened to you. We thank God that you're safe. Mr. Zikusooka Ahmed, you see, we've seen many entities coming up to condemn the detention, the arrest of people who try to speak, to speak up their minds in this country. And in this sense, we've seen many organizations coming up to condemn, but the nearby persons would expect, like, well, look at the East African community. We would wish to see a statement coming up from, the East African community directed to their, fellow member, that please, what you're doing, maybe you could try to give some guidance, try to give, to show that they're in solidarity with, many people who are going through. Why do you think that entities like the East African community, they are very silent about the human rights abuses in this country? But we could see people like the European Union coming up to talk about these things. But the people whom you would think they're so much concerned about this, they're very silent. Why is it like that? Why do you think?
I would like to draw you and the attention of the listeners and viewers to the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. This is a country that, in the first instance, primarily does not call for anyone's help. The Baganda have a saying that Nkoba Zambogo Zejazo Kamulunya. That when you have a problem, you're the first to think of a solution and how to maneuver through your problem. So this constitution has given too much authority to the people of the Republic of Uganda. I don't want to look at the far east, I don't want to look at the far west, north or south. The right question would be, why are Ugandans not acting to protect and preserve the provisions of their constitution? It is this constitution that gives us a right to speak, and those in authority and power abuse the rights. It is the same constitution that gives us our power as citizens of this country to uphold the provisions of this constitution, where we see that it is being violated. We should not talk about East Africa as East Africa, but we should talk about Ugandans, the elites in this country, those that understand the implication of why this constitution
was enacted.
Yes. So the idea is that even these lawyers that go in to act for habeas corpus, you know, today the chief magistrate had to listen to this gentleman's case.
Yeah.
Because they put in the habeas corpus.
Yeah.
Have they brought the boy? You ask yourself. So,
they even issued an order to have him released.
Exactly, that is what I'm talking about. So where you find authorities undermining the might of the courts of law, what do you expect of a country like this? What do you expect of authorities that do not respect provisions of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, save for those provisions that they think they yield from them? The boy has said whatever he has said. Yes, we don't have any problem. He has said whatever he has said. We are telling you, bring the boy, let the world understand the rationale behind the statement, because you cannot interpret whatever I have said. You have an interpretation of your mind that has made you get this boy into prison, that has made you get this boy into torture, that has made you get this boy in isolation of his family. The wife is crying. This is why the wife is taking the security organs to court to produce the husband. And the lawyer is telling you the boy was tortured. He has swollen legs. He's urinating blood. So these are questions that put the reasonable member of this country to a standstill to understand
what is happening.
What is happening in the mighty Pearl of Africa? What is happening under the watch of President Museveni? What is happening under the watch of police? What is happening under the watch of the army, whose mandate are to protect the people of Uganda, their lives and whatever? President Museveni has condemned beating in one of his
Actually,
speeches.
the recent speeches.
Yes, in one of his recent speeches, has told the police, no matter the wrong a Ugandan has done, you are not supposed to beat. You are not supposed to torture. Why are statements of torture over arrested people are still coming out?
Or we have selective applicability of
exactly our issue. Why are they still coming out? These are people that must be brought to the book. If this boy, no matter whatever he has said, if he comes out and it is proven that this boy was tortured, because this is a boy who is not even yet a suspect. Who is not even yet a suspect, because he has not been taken to make a statement as a suspect or what. But he's detained. You can find that this is a false arrest, false detention, and the forces must actually pay.
Mr. Zikusooka, when you talk about citizens coming up in such a case, yes, you're very, very right. And one would think that this is the actual time every Ugandan would come up. But do you think an average Ugandan has the voice to come and speak up on such issues? We have always seen, actually, even Kakwenza's utterances, it's a representation of the society, you know, just like any other person would come and speak. Now, after seeing this, doesn't it go back to what Mr. Kiwanuka says? That,
but Bobby Wine has just released a song.
Yeah, those songs we have heard, many of them.
Bobby Wine has just released a recent song.
For the songs we've heard, many of them.
Why isn't he detained?
So do you want to say it is selectively?
Why isn't he detained? Why is Wakonga? Why is this boy? Listen to the song. What does the song say? Is it so beautiful to entertain a regime's continuity? I don't think so.
Now, let us speak to an average Ugandan who is watching us. It's good you're a legal advisor for a political party. What do you expect Ugandans to do in such times?
In such times, we need...
Don't incite violence, sir.
No. Why do you prompt my words? Why are you prompting my words? You want to see me like Kiwanuka the next day? You want to see me like Kiwanuka the next day? No, me, I'm relatively a law-abiding Ugandan, and whatever I say it out of need for prosperity of this country, and seeing the developments that we need to see, the future of Uganda, the future of my son, the future of your son, the future of Kiwanuka's son, who is outside, but the people are here. You understand? So our issue is one. We want the regime, we want the NRM to not think about continuity in staying in power in a violation of others' rights. We want to commend the regime that before you leave power, because leaving power is a must, and it is going to happen, either with President Museveni or with another. It must happen. Amin has been here, he has gone. The Rutwas have been here, they have gone. The Obotes have been here, they have gone, come back, and actually gone for good. And now they are in their graves. So, change in power is a must, and it will happen. But before you are pinned, because every time President Museveni speaks, he speaks bad about President Idi Amin Dada. Whenever he speaks about Idi Amin Dada, he's very angry, he's using the language.
He's an idiot.
Yes, he's using a language that Kiwanuka is saying. If Jaja is speaking like this, then you understand that the grandchildren must
emulate what the Jaja.
That is actually a small word. There is another one. There is another one that has gone out of my brain. But the emulation is seen everywhere. Everywhere it is seen. Now, the average Ugandan, what should you do?
Yeah.
The average Ugandan, what should you do? Number one, if you don't want to be like Kiwanuka, if you don't want to be like Kiwanuka, and if you don't want to be like this younger boy, who is a subject of topic, who is a topic of discussion today, subject of discussion today, then you need to understand the first thing that I said on Moses and Aaron when they were going to Pharaoh. Yeah, you must understand. Yes, you must understand that leaders don't. Those that are like Kiwanuka and this boy will end up being who have rights. They will not respect their rights. Their rights won't be respected. Other than Kiwanuka, people will just say, if my rights are not respected, let me find a fertile place where I can live when my rights are what?
Respected.
Are respected. And you see Kiwanuka is speaking as if nobody can ever come there. He's very comfortable. He's very comfortable, and he's giving you the truth. The gentleman here in Uganda is behind bars, being tortured, beaten. The wife is crying. All of us are crying for the boy. Even the judicial system has been dismantled. There is no need. Nobody is respecting whatever the justice is saying, whatever his worship was written, and Kiwanuka is there laughing at us, saying, look at these Ugandans. They are in a country where they don't even know that even saying hello can lead you. Just saying hello. You can say hello to somebody and they interpret it as vulgar and they will take you inside prison. You will be tortured and you will be asked, why have you said hello? You have another intent. Your hello is not hello. So an average Ugandan is expected to understand that where torture is an immediate factor to those that speak the truth. I like Lumumba, Professor Lumumba was asked about Museveni being a dictator. In his words and in his speech, he has a lot of sugar coating. He said, when I was young, I used to say words, but at this age of mine and in the recent times, I can use, if it was boxing, the other time I used to box without even gloves. But this time round, I can do the same thing
with gloves.
With gloves. Meaning that you can actually let people understand your message even when you sugarcoat it. Because the world today is taken to be a world of comprehension. People comprehend. People sit down to think. People want to understand what has Latif said, what has Zikusooka said. You know, when Zikusooka says like this, the issue is this. Yeah? So we are telling the average Ugandan, because no one is going to say torture has another word. Torture is torture. Human rights are human rights. But when we are speaking to these people, we should tell them that where the Constitution must be respected, and it is not respected, the people have a right to riot. The people have a right to demonstrate, to come to you, sit down, put down tools of actions, operation and engagement. They sit down and they go civil. It is civil disobedience. To tell the government that whatever is going on, we are dissatisfied. You need to change. Or you can go away.
Is that practical here in the current Uganda?
This is why you say an average Ugandan, and I'm trying to tell the average Ugandan what is practical. If it is practical, it is subject to Ugandans understanding what to do.
Well, thank you so much, Bwana Ali Zikusooka and Mr. Kiwanuka. I want to go back to Mr. Kiwanuka. I don't know if you have anything to add on from what Zikusooka said, but if you don't...
There is a number of issues that Zikusooka raises.
Yes.
One, Mr. Zikusooka, through you, let Ugandans understand that I am very uncomfortable where I am. Right now, it's about 28 degrees centigrade. I'm outside, okay? And that is not good for this African boy who grew up in Maokoto. Okay. Since I came to this place, I have never been comfortable. I have focused myself on issues of Uganda, and I will never give up. But I think the issue that we are dealing here is fear.
Yes.
The regime in Uganda has instilled fear in the general populace that the people have even abandoned what is theirs in the hope that they are saving their skins. But you see, as they are pushing back, they are pushing them.
I think we've lost you, Mr. Kiwanuka. We seem to have lost you. It could be maybe the connection, I don't know. But
interestingly, I hear you.
Yes.
Oh, yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. So the regime is pushing Ugandans to a cliff. And we don't want to get there. We need to find ways, because there are so many things that have happened in Uganda. One of them is intellectual genocide. When I was in Uganda, you would that Pancras Kaboha is going to speak at Makerere. The entire CBD would stream to Makerere to listen to Kaboha. Would be speaking, all the former prime minister. These were people, okay, Ginyera Pinchua. We would go to listen to them. That class of people in Uganda has actually evaporated. Actually, in the last election, and among so from being an educated was almost a crime. Today we are choosing people who are educated for all the problems in the country. Decided to run away and melt like a piece of butter thrown into a flying pan because they are scared. So what we need to figure out is to actually deal with this issue head. Why are we scared? Okay, we have over-focused on Museveni as an individual. Okay, for me, and I think maybe it's because of that I have come to appreciate this. Museveni is not an issue. Okay, nature will take care of him. Our problem is Musevenism. The use of violent means to implement your political desires. How are we going to handle that as a country? This is where we have to focus our citizens and tell them to act before they lose the capacity to actually act and deal with the situation. Okay. Ugandans cannot wait for Kenyans to save them. You are not going to be waiting for Basalio. You don't need to wait for Besije, Muntu, Mao, or anybody. This is about you. Because where we are going, it's about you getting medical care. It's about you getting 3 meals a day. It's about you being able to educate your children. These are not things you're going to wait for Besije for who you are thinking of as a leader. This is about you as a person. So what are you doing in your neighborhood? Okay, are you talking to that person who is wearing Museveni's yellow T-shirt and explaining to them to understand the pain that we are undergoing through? Okay, don't wait for these political leaders. In 1980, to command. In 1980, Museveni did not win the election, did not lose the election. Semogera lost the election. Museveni did not sit there and say, oh, Paulo Kawanga Semogera, they come and tell me to go fight against Obote. No. He had his intentions, he had his plans, he went, he did what he did. So you are not going to wait for the commands from any other political leaders. Ugandans need to act on their own and move the country.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kiwanuka. I love it when you say in 1980, Mr. Museveni did not win, and he did not lose, but he chose to take action. Well, the young people, I think you must exercise your constitutional rights to demand for what is, what belongs to you. And we want to break off briefly, then we'll be coming back in the second hour, and that's why we'll be reading through some of your comments that are coming through on our Facebook page. And of course, I'll also open up some lines so that we get to hear from you, from wherever you're watching. And then in the second hour, we will be looking at the proposed constitutional amendment to have the parliamentary system where the Parliament of Uganda is the one to decide who becomes the president for this country. Let's break off. We'll be back shortly.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Hey Ugandans, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Dewa Kiki, the Deputy Defense Spokesperson and actually the Deputy Spokesperson for the Uganda People's Defense Forces. I was hosted on Alternative Digital. I encourage all Ugandans that this is the way to go. Always watch, participate, give your views and ask questions on Alternative Digital. Digital, the way to go.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Well, welcome back from that short break. We have to go. The Hotline Show continues. Well, before we proceed, I want to take you through some of the comments that have been coming through. And there are quite many, but I will not be able to read all of them. I'll just read through very, very few of them. Roger Stuliahabwe says, in this country, the truth is criminal. Then Tumuhimbi, okay. Then this one says, Patrick Nsereko, I enjoy my Guinness with pride. They call me a legend. I wonder those who don't feel proud of what they do. Okay. Then this one says, sorry, this one says, Mirembe Joel is on, Mirembe, we are watching. Okay. And then there is Mr. Kiwanuka Lawrence Semaguru Nsereko Olugero lwa Seru Kama Mayute is at its work. That is from Patrick Nsereko to you, Mr. Kiwanuka Lawrence Semaguru Nsereko. Then this one says, Angela Namilembe, thank you for watching. She's enjoying the show. Then Selector JJ Brand says, all that said, Ugandans, wake up. We cannot allow Museveni to play with our constitution. If we don't use Article 3, then we will have to relocate to other countries. This one says, Mr. Kiwanuka Lawrence, okay, it's the same, I read that. Then Panda Gali, then these arrests are not new, but it's unfortunate. I think this was a comment. They're trying to bring back what was said by Mr. Nsereko. I also wonder over when will this country be liberated. I'm one person who gave up on presidential elections unless something new is done. Then this one says we don't have independent arms of government. One rule overrides the other. So standing out to demand for constitutional rights is a joke. Innocent Nabiona, I am tuning in live from the Great Luengo district. Thank you for tuning in, sir. Then this one says, other comments, I am trying to avoid them. What is happening is dictatorship. He can't condemn, and I remember one day he said, Bobby Wine, tuamukubamu katono, akatono kalikachi. Okay. This one says, that is very true. The executive arm is in control of other two arms of government. And then Andrew Tusime, what a point. The greatest achievement done by NRM is to instill fear within the population. Let's break this chain of fear and we reclaim our country. Namirembe Angela, the two guests are on point. Thank you, Angela. Banangi, that dingawa taboo. Okay. Then, oh, this one was complaining. Why cut him short, Simon Ruta? And of course, we had to go for the break because we need to just sip some water and then get back on the show. Then, Grace Sempala, Ambassador, thank you for watching. Right, Ugandans, this is about you and your children. I think I may have to stop there for now. But let the conversation go. Maybe Nacha Narrator says, if Yumohos doesn't want to be told that he is obese, let him try to gym up. Also, let him tell the father to stop abusing people and name calling them, which Ugandans have copped. Okay? This one is watching from Mukono. Well, thank you so much, guys, and please keep the discussion going. Just send in your comments, and then we will be able to read them out. Well, before we went for the break, Mr. Nsereko was trying to highlight, trying to, to remind Ugandans of their roles, what they should do. I want to cross to Mr. Ali Zikusooka Ahmed, the legal advisor. You're the legal advisor for one of the major political parties in the country, which is represented in Parliament. And as political parties, have you done enough to engage the citizens, to rise up and make the constitution at play, put the constitution at play, especially in such times, as political parties?
Are you trying to incite violence?
I am not.
Okay. When you say rise up, the police will come to you and they will take you.
Rising up is in so many ways.
Yes, and now the interpretation will go back to the gentleman is in the corners to tell you that the thief, what were you meaning when you asked political parties to rise?
Yep.
However, though, I want to express my discomfort with the greed, the political greed that is exhibited in individual capacities of politicians in this country. And so many people are not for Ugandans, so many people are not for Uganda, so many people in the political battlefield are for God and my stomach.
Okay.
And that is the problem. When we come out to people, we tell people how beautiful this is going to be when we are elected into offices. We are going to do ABCD, we are going to do ABCD. But even the population has turned to ignore whatever sense politicians want to put in their minds. And all they think about is monetary politics. The population has been disturbed to think that if a politician has not given you money, you should not vote for them, and they are not going to do anything.
It's because they lost hope in the
because they lost hope in the ideas and the vision of politicians. And this is why genuine people like us, when we come to people, we shall convince them and they will understand us, but they will say, if you don't have money, we shall not give you. Because whatever we do is that we give you our votes, for you, you go and eat. That is now the brain of a voter in this country. So the brain of a voter in this country has been disappointed. Who has disappointed this brain? It is the politicians. Which kind of politician? Self-seeking politicians. Pro-people. Politicians are not given a chance to lead people, are not given a chance. Like you, Tiff, if you stood with your intellect, people will listen to whatever you say and they will say, Tiff, whatever you're saying is true, but now the but becomes the problem and you will lose on the issue. So that is how I begin expressing my discomfort in the political battlefield across all parties.
So do you want to admit that parties have not done enough?
We, as the opposition parties, we are trying, but we have not tried enough.
Thank you so much. Just a quick one to Mr. Kiwanuka Lawrence Nsereko. Just quick ones before we cross over, we switch to another topic or discussion. Well, we understand what you went through, but we have seen a number of people who have gone into exile, and then finally they came back here. One time, Dr. Chiza Besigye was in South Africa for some time, and things were not well for him. People like Sejusa, people like Okwi Rabon, we have, and many other people that have been there. But of late, we have realized that so many people, they even take pride in being in exile. You find someone, I'm in exile, you know. So, one would ask, was it because of your profession as a journalist or your political inclination to? I know you're a strong apologist of Democratic Party. So what really caused this? Was it on the side of your political affiliation or your profession part of it?
Thank you for that question. I will answer your question, then I will talk about political parties and their role. First of all, I'm not an apologist of the Democratic Party. I am a paid member of the Democratic Party, and I'm proud to be.
Thank you for that.
Now, a number of things were happening at that particular time. As a journalist, I had written, I had advised, done whatever I could do through them. But I also decided to act on the things that I was about. And I started mobilizing Ugandans, mainly young members of the Democratic across the to ask that we are asking. Unfortunately, at that particular time, people were still still sleeping. Okay, it wasn't as easy to convince people. So the combination of the two, having a newspaper and also mobilizing the younger people, iked the regime, and they came after me. The short of it. So I was political, but I was also a journalist.
So it was a combination of both?
Yes.
Well, thank you so much. You said you wanted to raise something to do with the political role in this.
In this country.
Yes.
I think parties in Uganda have done experiment and the stances. You cannot expect more from as institutions because they are like Uganda is tied down almost in the same way. What needs to be is for Uganda, including the political parties, including religious leaders, state heads, to together, not out a way forward. This idea of going alone is not get us there. There is a united front where we will even appeal to the NRM. It's something I need to say actually. We need to be able to accept people who are getting out of NRM. I hear people in the opposition, when somebody comes from NRM, they criticize them and attack them instead of welcoming them. Actually, how the opposition lost Kiwanuka. He came to a trial, tried to consult people. People were not up to him, and he found him in a hard place and a rock. And when he found a way to return home, he returned home. But if we welcome people from NRM without don't take the bedroom, let's sit them in the living room and work with them. Because many of them are disabled who are just scared. They don't know what to have them when they get of NRM. Some of the MP, one of the vibrant MPs, he was NRM for the longest. Okay. He was
I'm afraid we will have to. Mr. Kiwanuka, your line is breaking. We are not getting you so clearly. But I think we need to, for those who would like to make phone calls, you can call us on 07890171145 and then 0759132310 and be part of the discussion. Well, the other issue we want to talk about is the issue of the proposed constitutional amendments that are being fronted by Jackson Kafunzi, the Deputy Attorney General. Actually, this whole discussion started when he appeared on one of the radio talk shows. And then it's alleged that he is behind this whole move, where he said that there's some government is actually looking for funds to engage all Ugandans to support such an amendment. Just to take you a little bit back, in 1980, that election that propelled Mr. Museveni and his team to go to the bush, we were using the parliamentary system, where there were no presidential candidates during that time. Political people could go for the polls, and then the political party that could get a bigger number of representation in parliament would definitely decide who becomes the president for the country. And currently, Uganda as a country uses a system which is called first past the post. First past the post, it's where the candidate with majority votes becomes the president. And Uganda uses that particular kind of system. But again, it also has it has the single system, whereby in the single system, the winner, if you get 35%, you definitely becomes the president. And then the other way, if one gets where there is what is called it's called the single round and then the two-round system. So Uganda uses a single round system. In the single round system, whoever gets the majority votes becomes the president. But in the two-round system, there is what they call absolute majority, and that is what Uganda uses. Absolute majority, it must be 50 plus. 50 plus. But then in the single round system, even if you get 25% and the first runner has 15%, you declare the president. So Uganda uses the two-round system under the first past the post system. Now, if these amendments are put into force, it means we'll get done with this. This whole system will be overhauled and we'll have a different way of having presidents. Earlier before this show, the executive director of the Alternative Uganda appeared on this same platform. He was giving his perspective on such amendments in what he termed making sense of the proposed constitutional amendments. And in his thinking, much as very many people think this is a Mho's project kind, of course in quotes, his thinking is totally different. And if you want to get a recap of that show, yes, it can be found on the Alternative platform. Now, I want to start with Mr. Ali Zikusooka. If these amendments are presented before the parliament, do you think Ugandans should give them an opportunity? Is it something you think is being fronted in good faith?
The Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, I think it is Chapter 18.
I like your humbleness whenever you start, you refer to the Constitution. You always start very, very humble.
Yeah. Because matters of intelligence need intelligence. Chapter 18 of the 1995 Constitution of the Republic of Uganda is the chapter on amendment. It has created a virtue, which I think it is a playing ground for those that want to violate the Constitution, because it says are subject to the provisions of this Constitution, Parliament shall. Parliament may amend by way of
addition,
variation,
or repeal. Any provision of this Constitution.
That is the problem. That is where the problem is.
Any provision of this Constitution.
That word Those two words.
In accordance with the procedure laid down in this chapter.
The problem is that word, any provision of this constitution. And that is the problem. And this is where those that think they are wise to create continuity of a regime, to create continuity of longevity of staying in power, to create, I would call it constitutional theft of funds, public funds, they will come there. Now, the framers of the Constitution, in good faith, they put there's so many beautiful provisions to see that Uganda is a better country. And when you read the preamble of that Constitution, if you can read it for Ugandans, if you have it.
I can.
The preamble of that Constitution gives a lot of hope to the people of Uganda, to the citizens of Uganda.
The preamble, it's a bit lengthy.
Yeah, but you can go.
Okay, it says, we the people of Uganda.
You know, when we are talking about the Constitution and amendment of the Constitution,
Ugandans should know.
Don't say the preamble is too long.
Okay.
There is a reason as to why it is like that.
We the people of Uganda.
Yes.
Recalling our history.
Yes.
Which has been characterized by political and constitutional instability.
Political and constitutional instability.
Recognizing our struggles against the forces of tyranny,
exactly,
oppression, and exploitation. Committed to building a better future by establishing a social, economic, and political order through a popular and durable national constitution based on the principles of unity, peace, equality, democracy, freedom, social justice, and progress. Exercising our sovereign and inalienable right to determine the form of governance for our country, and having fully participated in the constitution-making process, noting that a constituent assembly was established to represent us and to debate the draft constitution prepared by the Uganda Constitutional Commission and to adopt and enact a constitution for Uganda. Do hereby, in and through this constituent assembly, solemnly adopt, enact, and give to ourselves and our posterity this constitution of the Republic of Uganda, this 22nd day of September in the year 1995, for God and my country.
How beautiful the wording of the intellectual brains that sat that time to look at this beautiful nation with the expectation of a future for the country. They have given you the mess and they have given you the wishes. They have given us the mess, characterized by tyranny, oppression, political instability. What is our wish? Unity, peace, social transformation, what? Equality. And they say, our, meaning Ugandans. So you see the preamble. And they give you that preamble and you settle. And they come to 18, chapter 18. And they say they shall be, this constitution at this time is very beautiful. But it may need an amendment.
Or repealing some provisions.
It may need an amendment by addition, variation, or repeal. Not so?
Yes. Addition, variation, or
repeal. Any provision
of this constitution.
Of this constitution. Now that is where the problem has come from. I would like to suggest a very quick and simple solution to respecting this constitution. Yes, the framers of the constitution then thought that Ugandans would respect this constitution. And if there need be for any amendment, it would be an amendment reflecting the wishes of Ugandans in the preamble that you have just read. Am I on point with you?
Yep.
You're following?
Yep.
The first constitutional rape was when they went through this very constitution that has that Parliament may amend any provision of this constitution. That is where the problem is.
Some provisions would have been protected.
Some provisions of this constitution for the betterment of this nation, for the betterment of the leadership of this nation, grooming leadership, seeing exchange of power, peaceful exchange, peaceful transition of power in this country, we would have protected severely some provisions of this constitution, which have actually prompted Ugandans into fights, into greed for power. Because as a lawyer, the ruling party has lawyers equally. And the framing of the provision of an article or a section of an act of parliament is vital when it comes to law. So the judges, the legislators, if the constitution is the supreme law, you will find that your hands are tied where there is still a word amend any provision of this constitution. I think lawyers, judges, and so many other people have not put their mind to that word, any provision of this constitution. And this is where the NRM and or whoever is trying to proposes whatever they want to propose, brings whatever they want to amend in this constitution, because the constitution has said any provision of this constitution is subject to amendment.
Thank you so much.
Now, I want to give you my simple issue on this. I would like this. You asked me, have the political parties done enough? And I've said we have tried, but we have not done enough. This is what we want, and this is my call to all of the political party presidents, party presidents, in all political party presidents, including the NRM.
Okay.
Including the NRM, that if the proposal is parliamentary to bring in change on the presidential election, we should not mercifully, we should not actually put too much energy on wanting to let Parliament do that. Let us make that and make good leadership in this country by reinstating what has been amended in the Constitution and protecting it forever. And we say,
you said it.
No, and we say that Parliament, like the provision is going, but when you reach shall amend, we should not, any constitution, any provision of this constitution, save
for this and that.
Save for article. What was that article that was
102?
102. And we reinstate
term limits.
We reinstate the term limits and we reinstate the age limit. in the constitution. Because if we can amend, we can repeal, we can vary, and we can add. So, political leaders in this country, journalists in this country, religious leaders in this country, age provisions, teachers, medical, and anything, traders, businessmen. Once leadership is straight and okay, you will find stability when you are doing business. You will find stability if it is education. You will find stability at any point in whichever things that we do. So leadership as a root cause of every of our decent organizations should be understood to come back to safety. How are we bringing it back to safety? Let us reinstate. Let us also, these people are proposing. What makes all the other politicians sit back and don't think of what has been deteriorated in the constitution so that it can be made back? The out of us as a politician is to think for better leadership for this country. My thought is that we should come back, as these people are proposing. The constitution is also still telling us that we can amend any provisions. Whatever has been repealed, whatever has been done, we can subject it to an addition, variation, or what is it saying, the last one? Repeal. Or repeal.
Thank you so much, Bwana Zikusooka. Well, for your information, the term limits were reinstated in the previous amendments, though they did not create much excitement in the public because everyone was so much concerned about the age limit cap. Now, I want to go to Mr. Kiwanuka. There are many people who believe that such proposals coming through, it's for the continuity of the system. Exactly. One says that if currently the president is 77 years, as he alleges that he is indeed 77 years, it means in the next 10 elections, this gentleman will be 83 or 82, around there. And one thinks maybe he will be very, very weak to move around, to move up and down across the country, looking for votes. And it's like maybe this is a simpler way for him to keep himself in power. I don't know, what is your take in this? I don't know how you read this whole thing from that side.
Once beaten, twice. And we actually haven't been beaten once. We've been beaten many times, so we are maybe quadruple shy. So we cannot trust what is being proposed to be genuine and for the purpose of good governance. All as they allege that it's for the purposes of saving resources is not what they intend. The intent here is to create a delegates, correction of delegates that can be easily manipulated and endorse someone for the presidency. There is no idea here that seems to advance good governance. I think if we follow what Zikusooka has just told us, that let's revisit the Constitution, reinstate what we have manipulated, and also maybe talk about proportional representation.
Yes.
As a system. Because let's say smaller parties like a JEEMA, they have major ideas. Leaving them out without getting, I don't know, I think JEEMA had about 200,000 votes in the last election. Those are Ugandans. Why do we leave them out without political representation? So if you want to expand democracy in Uganda, and that's the pass for these amendments, then those are the issues we should be talking about. We cannot be misled at this moment and start looking at this amendment as coming not to allow the continuity of someone who is getting weaker and weaker when it comes to campaigning. There are things I would say, but I need this show to stay on, so I will not discuss them. Zikusooka warned me that the way you wrap the gift is very important. But we have seen, if you study the convoy, where there was one ambulance, there are 3 ambulances. Where there was 1 toilet, there are 2 now, and so on. So things are really changing. And somebody needs to find a way how to minimize the toll of the campaign. But also, if you go back to 93, 94, 95, during the discussions of the current constitution, actually of the core NRM were the people who were most opposed to the parliamentary system. Okay, and they made so many arguments against it. Now they are turning around, trying to persuade people for ulterior motives. Okay, we are already complaining about the amalgamation of the arms of state, where parliament and the presidency and the cabinet are all mixed up. Now we are trying to basically make that a constitutional provision, because if we go the parliamentary system way, we are not going to be able to distinguish these arms of government. And that is where most of our problems are actually emanating from. That we are not checking the presidency or the executive effectively. Okay? The president wants it, goes to parliament, they give him. We just need to actually make the presidential system cleaner and divide and separate these entities, these arms, more effectively. Okay. There are so many advantages for the presidential system, which I can think of. President has a single national constituency, a responsible president who knows that the buck stops at my desk, who is not consumed in parliamentary negotiations with the members of his political party. In Uganda today, we don't have parliamentary, we don't have a presidential system. What we have in Uganda is not a political system of any form. On paper, we have it in the constitution, but in reality, we don't have anything. This is a club of people. The term in political science is kakistocracy. Okay, the worst kind of leaders you can get.
Thank you so much,
That's
Mr. Kiwanuka. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Kiwanuka. Actually, what is being proposed, this whole thing started in the NRM. If you remember, in the 2016 elections, initially NRM could convene all the delegates, they elect the party chairman and all that. Now, this whole thing is no more. No, NRM has the SEC, the Central Executive Committee, which has only 29 members. And these are the people who determine who should be the party chairperson. You know, and now, if you see such amendments, such proposals coming through, then maybe they could give you the leads to find out where they are coming from. Zikusooka, you had something that was really burning you when Mr. Kiwanuka was speaking.
You've just reminded me of SEC. And in the primaries of NRM with their SEC, you see a lot of corruption. You see a lot of corruption, money being dished at hike, and people around you in the NRM party say, abasajja bayiye sent, better before ku SEC. They need positions on SEC because they need to sit on a table that gives power. They want to be themselves the people that are looked at for purposes of obtaining power. So the most corrupt.
Just a reminder before you proceed. During if you remember, during the speakership elections, the National Executive Committee of the NRM had endorsed Rebecca Kadaga. And these 29 people, they endorsed Olanya. And you know what happened? Yes. Proceed.
So the most corrupt organ of the NRM party is the SEC. And since time immemorial, Ugandans know that the most corrupt arm of government, how many arms of government? Executive,
Parliament,
legislature.
Okay, legislature and the judiciary.
And the judiciary. So, in determining matters of leadership, there you will need an act of parliament to amend the constitution. We shall be talking about members of parliament. The most corrupt people that have put us into catastrophic situations are the members of parliament. When it was Tojikwatako, when it was age limit, when it was term limits, it was parliament, not so?
Yeah.
We have all heard that President Museveni was dishing money in the eyes of the members of parliament to a tune and magnitude of his choice and at their bargaining power.
He even confessed.
He confessed. And even members of parliament confessed at a later stage that money was given.
Yeah.
Opposition members of parliament, maybe those who did not get, came out and said, Echiri mu parliament, we cannot do anything. Munkubaza parliament. In the corridors of parliament, members of parliament we are saying we have done whatever we have done, but the man has corrupted everyone. So now when you come to this proposal of these people wanting to make parliament change the constitution and the element of elections to members of parliament, they are trying to ease where the money has been going to all Ugandans in terms of corruption and buying of votes. They want to limit it to members of parliament. Because indeed, if it passes, and actually if members of parliament are very wise, they will let this pass.
And by the way, this proposal, it has not been presented before Parliament.
Yes, it has not.
It is still a corridor discussion.
Exactly. But once it goes there, and it is read on the second and the third time in the House,
it will pass.
It will pass. Even when President Museveni has not assented to it. Because he will be given only 30 days to assent. If he has not assented, as he has not given a reason, it will pass into law. So if it is meant for continuity of the NRM party, the NRM has the majority in parliament. It will be delivered on parliament. It will be read. The first, it will pass. It will come and be read the second and the third, and it will be seconded because it is NRM seconding. The big man has said, frankly, NRM yesalawo. It is now NRM proposing.
Actually, all bills that have come through have been in a very similar fashion.
So NRM is proposing. After proposing, it is proposing for the NRM inside Parliament. Inside parliament, it is proposing for NRM to come back into power. Yes, it will come back into power. And this is the only reason I am disappointed with Robert Kyagulanyi. Again. Because I have told Robert Kyagulanyi in so many occasions that we don't need to fight for presidential seats at this time. Let us fight the dictator in parliament because it is where he has the strength. Create more seats of parliamentarians.
What can 50 members of parliament do in parliament?
Exactly, nothing. This is why I said, your popularity, you have been embraced by the population. The population have said, our man Kyagulanyi, let us fight the parliamentary seats and gain majority in parliament. Such proposals wouldn't have come if we focused on parliamentarian elections. These wouldn't have come because now opposition, not only NOP, if your opposition as Kyagulanyi, empower JEEMA, empower DP, empower CP, empower NPP, empower this one from Gisha Muntu, and empower the opposition, give them the platform, let them come to the house. Fill the house with the opposition members of parliament and see how this country is going to be run professionally.
Mr. Zikusooka, JEEMA as a party, in the end of year presser you held, you were talking about proportional representation. This is something Mr. Kiwanuka has also talked about. Are you taking advantage of the only seat you have to present the idea of proportional representation and see if maybe Ugandans can buy it over the parliamentary system being proposed by the NRM regime?
You know, it is wisdom to think for Uganda what we see best. And Ugandans have not taken keen interest with the proposals JEEMA has brought. But the government has taken and it has used. The only problem, it is using it with the methodology it chooses to implement it with. Not the methodology that JEEMA would use to implement its ideology. And so if you're not the innovator, you cannot determine the success of an innovation. So from whatever I have said, when I said Kyagulanyi should have empowered all political opposition parties.
I think Kyagulanyi, you're over giving him too much.
No.
Your expectations are beyond normal. You're over expecting too much from Kyagulanyi.
We are not over expecting. This is a presidential candidate.
But he was not the only one.
This is a presidential candidate. Welcomed overwhelmingly by the Ugandans, by the voters. That is where he has a difference with other presidential candidates that came in the race.
Okay.
Yes, as him in the opposition, willing to take charge of this country, make sure that the struggle that you have joined has had strugglers. So these strugglers should not be for granted taken.
Okay.
So my issue remains that if you're not the innovator of the idea, you cannot see fruit so very well. So JEEMA is talking of proportional representation given the trust of Ugandans on the number of votes they have given a political party. Okay? Mm-hmm. So a political party that has a bigger number of votes from Ugandans will choose the president and the next and the next and the next. That is proportional. Each party will have a representation. And Ugandans will gain from the intelligence of these people. So many intelligent people, like you, like me, like the others, are out of service because people did not see that, maybe in the first instance, and they want to see it later.
I want to go back to Mr. Kiwanuka as we get closer to as we get closer to the end of the show. I want to go back to Mr. Kiwanuka. In the previous attempts, actually not attempts, in the previous amendments, like during the Tojikwatako time and all that, many leaders, it's unfortunate Gerard Karuhanga has not made it here. We expected him because he was among the people who ran to the courts of law trying to challenge that amendment. Now, do you think if such a proposal is presented before Parliament, is there anything Ugandans can do to stop such an amendment just in case they don't like it? This is for Mr. Kiwanuka.
First of all, I'll come to your question, but let me go back to the issue of proportional representation. I think people need to educate themselves, and I have known Universal Lirwa for quite some time. He's been a proponent of proportional representation even before JEEMA was founded. Okay. It's important to note that in 1992, 93, when the Democratic Party submitted its views to the Odoki Commission, in that submission, they proposed proportional representation. So this is not something people are looking at because they belong to smaller parties. This is a genuine proposal to expand the political franchise. Now, going back to your question, I think we have an issue here that we need to be keen about. Zikusooka is going to be a little disappointed with me when I say what I'm going to say.
It's good you've put the disclaimer.
I think the problem we are having is not a legal issue. These people, they can amend whatever law they want, whichever way they desire. The issue in front of us is political.
Legally supported.
Well, I think we've lost Mr. Kiwanuka. We apologize. Maybe there are some issues with technology. Well, before technology gets fixed, I want to come back to you, Bwana Zikusooka. Mr. Kiwanuka says the idea of proportional representation was first presented in 1993 when the Democratic Party presented its views to the Odochi Commission. But this is the same idea JEEMA as a party is trying to front. And should we expect to see a political kind of alliance in courts, not like these electoral alliances, to trying to sell the idea of proportional representation over the parliamentary elections as being proposed, parliamentary system? Do you have such plans?
We educate, promulgate, and disseminate information that we think is best for Uganda from a political party that is morally intended to tell the truth and see justice done. Proportional is the way to go. If JEEMA is talking about proportional, then I think the NRM has seen JEEMA and is trying to fight what JEEMA is bringing on board, which is going to be a little more gainful for the service of Ugandans politically, and they want to knock it out and put theirs on the front because they believe they still have the majority in parliament. Otherwise, we don't need any political alliance as JEEMA. Us, what we do is to say what is meant, what is out of us, what is out of a political party like JEEMA, the mighty JEEMA, that will be actually seen. If the idea is there before, and it is us fronting it, then it means it's right time for the idea to kick off.
Well, thank you so much, Bwana Zikusooka. I don't know, do we still have Mr. Kiwanuka or we have lost him? Well, Mr. Kiwanuka, we are coming to the end of the show. Actually, I want your closing remarks, but as you make them, I want you to maybe give a response. Do we have any problem with the current electoral system? In your own view? Mr. Kiwanuka, hello? Well, we must have lost Mr. Kiwanuka. Maybe this same question should come to you, Bwana Zikusooka, and then after that you should also give me your closing remarks. Do you have any problem with the current electoral system?
The electoral system, the problem is the appointing authority.
Who appoints who? It's the Ugandans to
The appointing authority is the problem, and the subordination of the appointee. That is the only problem that we have. Otherwise, if the appointed ones knew their rights and exercised the independence that is given to them by the Constitution, then we wouldn't have any problems. But
I want your closing remarks, sir.
my closing remarks is that let the country see the rights of individuals be upheld. This gentleman in police shouldn't be in custody without being brought to court. And these proposals, once brought, we shall see how to educate Ugandans. We are educating Ugandans, but we shall see how to educate Ugandans more on the advantages and disadvantages of what is being proposed, and the advantages and disadvantages of what we have proposed, and what has been there, and what is there, and is what is out of us.
Well, thank you so much, Bwana Ali Zikusooka. And then, I don't know, there are so many comments, I may not read them. Madam Ambassador Grace Sempala, we really thank you for being part of the show. Namirembe Angela, the comments are so many, I may really not read all of them. And Mr. Kiwanuka Lawrence, I really thank you for creating time to be part of us. We must have lost you completely, but I just wanted to get your closing remarks. But maybe we'll keep engaging you, and we really, really thank you for being part of the show. And all other viewers who have been part of this show, please, we thank you, and always keep it Dig Talk. My name is Abdalla Tiff, and this brings us to the end of the hotline. Until next week on Monday.
Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.